Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, basically. Sorry, I got my words mixed up. All the other what ifs are on hold. They're not being replaced or anything. The Mandalorian Deku is still going on. The Jedi version of it is not for a while. I'm putting that completely on hold. I might actually redo that one entirely. I'm not 100% sure, so please let me know about that. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? Where a CA, aka a clone assassin, shall we? My first day as a clone assassin. A clone assassin should always attack its targets. Although I was different from my clone brethren. I was not actually a clone. I was a normal human. I ended up leaving the Empire as it was built. My first ever mission as an assassin for the clone army, even though I thought I was a clone myself. 1 minute. As a so-called clone assassin, my orders were strictly coming from Chancellor Palpatine at the time. Although my missions were of an assassination attempt on several lives of the Republic, clone deserters, the usual rabble that the Chancellor couldn't allow escape. But me and my brothers knew of our true mission: to exterminate the wretched Jedi Order, which I think a lot of us were happy to do. Me, on the other hand, I was just too happy to follow orders. So I left on one of my missions. One of my missions were to hunt down a Jedi on Rhodia. That Jedi was impossible to find. She stuck into the Rhodian crowd very well. Turns out she was a Rhodian herself. A Jedi Master named Rudia Patoko. Jedi Master Rudia Patoko. So I hunted her down, but picking one Rhodian female out of all the other Rhodians was impossible. I may be a clone assassin, but it doesn't mean I can easily locate my target when there's 1 in 1,000 Rhodians on Rhodia. So I went straight back into the shadows. After a few months of searching for her, I eventually found her, hiding in alleyways, making sure she was not easily spotted. I cornered her. She turns around and looks at me, saying I could sense your presence. For an assassin, you do love taking your time searching. I could have escaped your justice by now, but I wanted to see what you were like. So I walked out of the shadows. Her eyes widened. She said, "But you're a clone. How could you be so ruthless?" I simply brought out my vibroblades. With my sixth form of Serakasi, I think that's how you say it, of a Jedi combat form, I was virtually unbeatable. So I went headlong into her. She got into a defensive stance, although that defensive stance didn't help her out very much. Seeing a clone assassin and facing them is a totally different thing. I overwhelmed her within seconds, carving her into pieces. I quickly left, because the fight we were having could have drawn a crowd, so I scaled the wall with my vibroblades. When I got to the roof, I peered down to find out that there were children who found her corpse, so I quickly fled. Satisfied, there we go, of my mission, I got on my ship and left straight back to Coruscant. After I got to Coruscant, I met with the Chancellor. As he would just say, "Good job, assassin. That's one less traitor to the Republic brought to justice." "Yes, Chancellor." "Right. Do you have anything else to say?" "No, Chancellor." "Not even good words?" "No, Chancellor." "You can leave now to your brethren?" "Yes, Chancellor." So I left. For 5 weeks I was in my ship. Not a single order came through. So I went exploring in my freighter that I had. It was just me on my own. No companion, no nothing. I went all over the galaxy, eventually settling down on a jungle world with a few pockets of civilization. So I got out and left. Went walking around without my armor on. I eventually found a peculiar sight. A Mandalorian, although I couldn't tell which gender it was. As this Mandalorian was taking a Gruta male into justice. Obviously for a bounty, because Mandalorians are known for their bounty hunting business. And as I walked past, I could hear him saying, "This is ridiculous. I have done nothing. The Hutts should know I am feared." I finally heard this Mandalorian speak, which turns out to be a woman. You knew the risks of crossing the Hutts. I'm surprised you never learned your lesson, Tecluta." "Oh, listen to yourself. You're nothing but a puppet to them. They pay me not to question their orders. You insulted the great Jabba the Hutt, as he proclaims himself to be." "Jabba? Pah! Jabba doesn't know anything about what I have done." "You insulted Jabba by taking over one of his supply shipments. A Deacon Eels, if I remember rightly. His favourite snack. I thought Nimro the Hutt used to have those. Nimro is dead." "Yes, but Nimro the Hutt was greatly known for having those sort of snacks." "Just follow my lead." "Fine, whatever. But how can I follow your lead?" As he pulls her blaster pistol from from her back and points it at her head. "If you are dead." Within seconds, she turns around, slapping her own pistol out of his hand, and then headbutts him. He then grabs a knife from his pocket and tries to slash at her, but with his hands still in handcuffs, he found that difficult. I just simply stood on the sidelines and watched as this Mandalorian turned her sniper rifle around to use it as a club. She then smacks the Togruta so hard it makes him go unconscious. As his limped body hits the floor, as the knife goes flying out of his hand, straight to me as I grab it by the sharp end. As the Mandalorian looks at me, saying, "You okay?" I just simply nod, saying, "Yes, I'm okay," as I just simply walk away. I turn around to see her grab the Togruta and her pistol. As she puts her pistol back, she slings the Togruta over her shoulders, carrying him. I don't know what happened then. I never saw her again afterwards. But after a few days, I get back on my ship and leave. Then I get the message: execute Order 66. So I return to Coruscant, knowing that's where the Jedi would be. If the Jedi tried to assassinate the Chancellor, I would kill them. I land on the surface of Coruscant, blades and armor all on at the same time. I met with my other clone assassin brethren as we left into the Jedi Temple. Lord Vader, our field commander, walked in with us. We then went around killing Jedi left, right and center, as our clone brethren with blaster rifles started shooting at all the Jedi. We went around killing all stronger Jedi Knights on the verge of becoming Jedi Masters. My Lord Vader dealt with Jedi Counselor Shock T and others. We were taking care of the usual Jedi. One Jedi I jumped on, stabbing him twice, then removing his head. Then the next, I stab her straight in her heart, as blood pours out of her mouth. With her final breath, she grabs my face, but lets go, letting her limp hand run down my face. As she falls down dead, I flinch. What is happening to me? I start turning around, all in a daze and confused. Seeing clone assassins butcher Jedi, I start wondering to myself, what's happening? Why am I like this all of a sudden? One of the clones shot another Jedi behind me, as he runs up to me saying, Trooper, get your head back in the game. The Jedi have betrayed us. Don't start freaking out now." I agree, huffing and panting, but I still did my job. I butchered any other Jedi that came my way. It was either them or me, and I couldn't stop to ask them a question. All the Jedi were slain. 5 hours later, I see a small transport ship, or
small transport vehicle land on the upper levels. I tapped into the comm unit of the unit up there and heard the voice of Bail Organa. As he demanded to know what was going on, a trooper named Apo said there was a rebellion, sir. Don't worry, the situation's well under control. As Bail Organa tries to enter, he just says, "I'm sorry, sir. It's time for you to leave." As he just says, "And so it is." As he turns away, he then hears a lightsaber. A trooper saying, "Get him!" As the Jedi Padawan, who I believe was Bail Organa's son, cuts down Jedi left, right, and center, cuts down troopers to the best of his abilities as a youngling. Unfortunately, the rate of fire of the clones began as he was killed. Bail Organa screams no as he leaves. The troopers just saying, "Don't worry about him, let him go." As if that would be the last they hear of him. The war was over. We had our own victories. I was then told to guard the relay beacon and kill any other Jedi that comes within range of it, trying to find out what happened. If there are any other Jedi survivors. I was placed in charge. I told my clone brethren to hide and wait for any Jedi who decides to turn up. A few days later, during Palpatine's transmission of Condrus, he renounces the Galactic Empire, the First Galactic Empire. All our clone brothers, all the senators applaud Emperor Palpatine's new Galactic Empire. But during the whole fiasco of the speech, 2 Jedi entered, Grandmaster Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, 2 most famed Jedi. Our usual Reg brothers were cut down as they entered their once famed temple. They find my clone brothers. I, in the bank, lose my nerve. Kenobi saw that as he attacked everybody else. The agility of the clone assassins was enough to keep up with him, but eventually he killed them all. He looked at me and charged at me. I quickly turned around and fled outside to the roof, followed by Kenobi. As Kenobi then jumped over me, landing in front of me and pointed his lightsaber at me, I quickly stop. As I get on my hands and knees, get on my knees, which catches Kenobi off guard. As he then walks up to me, as he sees the blood on my face, but me cowering in fear. He then takes off my helmet to reveal not a clone, but a normal human. As even he is caught off guard, as he would just say, "What? But you're not a clone. You're a civilian." As I beg him not to kill me, he says, "Look at yourself. Look what you've done to our temple. I don't want to see you again in that armor. Run. Hide. Live your life to the fullest. Find somewhere peaceful to lie down, low, and basically never come back to this temple. I bow and say, yes, Jedi, Master Jedi. As I start to begin to leave, I look at him, saying, I'm sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I was just following orders. Kenobi snapped at me, saying, following orders does not mean you should assassinate every Jedi. We did nothing wrong. Just leave, before I change my mind. I just apologize once again and leave. I see Jedi Knight Grandmaster Yoda. Yoda doesn't activate his lightsaber. He could tell that I am not a threat as I walk past him. He simply turns as he watches me leave. I eventually leave the Jedi Temple, get on my ship, and leave. Returning to the same planet I saw that bounty hunter on. I eventually find the bar, but as I was walking to the bar, the eyes of hatred were staring at me. People started whispering, saying, who is that? Don't know. I ain't going anywhere near him. Is that blood on his helmet? Ugh, what is a putrid clone like him doing here? I don't know what clone he is. I've never seen them before. Do you think it's like the others who came through here? No, they didn't have vibro blades attached to their arms. As I hear there were other clones here. I sighed, saying, great. Looks like those clones are here too. The Empire's fully cemented itself. I eventually walk into the bar and people stare at me. As the bar keep says, yes, what will it be? I just order a normal drink. A strong one. The eyes were still on me, including one in the back, who I could just vaguely make out the helmet as a Mandalorian helmet. As I eventually get my drink, I sit at the bar. Everybody's still staring at me as I turn around and say, what you're looking at? Get on with your own drinks. And leave me to my own. I've had a bad day already. So everybody gets on with their drinks. And pretty soon I was forgotten about. Although it doesn't help when certain eyes were still on me, looking at me, watching me, as if I was a snack. Eventually I hear a voice saying, hey. I turn around, snapping, saying, what now? This turns out to be the same Mandalorian woman I met with the Togluta. And she just simply says, been a little while since we've seen each other. How you been, clone? I scoff at that remark, saying I ain't actually a clone, you know. And she would just say, yeah, well, you certainly don't look the part of a civilian. I look at her, saying, but I am. I was inducted into the clone army by accident and brainwashed into thinking that I was a clone. Her laughing at the remark, saying, yeah, right. Clone. Come up with a better story next time. As I look down, saying, ugh. As she then looks at me, says, what's on your mind? as I tell her the entire story. What happened, how I no longer wished to be in the army, as the Jedi told me to live in peace. The Jedi woman that marked my helmet forced me to realize and open my eyes to the truth, to everything. She simply stares in horror. She just says, "I'm sorry." As I just simply tell her, it's alright. I need to find forgiveness in myself, more than anything. As I take off the helmet, finally revealing the face of a normal human being and not a clone. Everybody stunned in silence at the story and not the face. As somebody begins to say, "He's not a clone, so how the hell did he get..." I don't know. The whispers started. People still drinking and whispering about it. Even the people who were in a drunken stupor began whispering in normal speak. A few Rhodians, a few Togrutas, some Sabraks, a Caledonian, some species that looks suspiciously like Cad Bane. As this man, though, just then takes out handcuffs and says, "Alright, I think I've heard enough. You're my target, so you can either come in peacefully, or I can knock you out." Me, being a bounty target, finally clicked. She came here to hunt me down. And the sounds of her voice sounds like she wanted a harder target to get. As I say, you could try and knock me out. With her smiling. It's almost as if she was waiting for that word. As she would just say, "Finally, someone I can finally fight." As she throws a punch at me, I catch her fist. And she is laden with shock at how fast I was. As she would say, "Interesting. You certainly are interesting, but..." She gets cut off by a fist to the face, knocking off her helmet, revealing a beautiful woman underneath the helmet. Long brown hair, blue eyes with a few scars. The beauty of her almost caught me in a stunned daze, but I snap out of it as I catch another one of her hands, after pulling her other one away. She then fights me hand to hand. Then she uses her legs to try and trip me up, but I use my hand and catch her leg and flip her upside down, crashing her into a stand, or aka a table. The bar keeps saying, "Hey, watch the furniture." With the fight continuing, we weren't really paying much attention to him. I simply threw a bunch of credits saying, "That's for the damages that may happen here." As this Mandalorian female just smiles at me. The smile never leaving her face. As she raises one of her hands again for a fist, with a fist screwed in it. As she launches her fist at me, cracks me good in the face, but I crack her good in the chest, causing her to gasp for air a bit, but she then quickly leg sweeps me, causing me to basically fall on my back.
as she then jumps on me, slamming my face into the ground, then spinning me onto my back as she then delivers blow after blow to my face. I eventually grab both of her hands and start to stand, slowly. Her then wrapping her legs around me, as she then flips herself onto her back, crashing to the ground as she lifts me up, then untangling her legs from me, using her foot to lift me above her, as she then kicks me off, sending me back to the ground. She stands up again. Exhausted, I still stand. But then I pull out my vibroblades, and she pulls out her own vibroblade. As we clash, she starts to realize that hand-to-hand was her only option. As the blades, I was efficient in them. Realizing that, she put her vibroblade away, and then tried to get in close. But then realized, as my blades came screaming down to her, she quickly rolls out the way as I hit the ground with them. Turning my head to her, she stands, huffing and puffing, but with a smile still. Almost like she was enjoying it too much, almost like she was testing me. I finally had enough, as I run to her and launch my blades to finish the fight, as she kicks me straight in the face, sending me skidding back to the bartender's little bar area, crashing through it, the bar itself, and into its, well, into the actual stuff that makes the alcohol and all that, which drives me unconscious. As she walks towards me, well, I assume she would just walk towards me, because when I woke up, I was slouched over her shoulders. As she made her way to a ship, I awoke. As she said, "Good, you're awake." As I shake, trying to get free, she says, "Don't bother. You're already under arrest. Don't make this harder. You're one hell of a fighter, you know. Ever thought of taking up bounty hunting business?" I look at her with a confused look. Why would I take up a Mandalorian's job? As she would just say, "Well, for starters, we Mandalorian women do love strong men. And you are strong. Really strong. For a non-clone. Anyway, I helped you guys ship because we're using yours." As we went and leave, going to a spaceport, I direct her to my ship. And she looks at it, whistling, saying that this is one hell of a beautiful ship. Shame to lose it so fast. As I simply tell her, I use this ship all the time to get around the galaxy for my assassinations, for now Emperor Palpatine, for when he used to be the Chancellor. With her eyes widening, saying, "You used this beautiful ship to hunt targets for Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine now." I simply just replied, saying yes. Was that a problem? As she simply said no. No problem at all. As she just runs her hand across it, saying, "The ship is beautiful, clean, nothing in sight." As we enter, she sees that the ship had everything that an assassin would need. A bed, a shower, a kitchen, a cockpit, blasters, and a cabinet for new clothing if they have to go undercover. She just looks at her all, saying, "Okay, when I had you into my client, I am taking your ship. No sense of letting a good ship like this go to waste." I was just scoffing in my own way. A bounty hunter finally taking an interest in a clone ship. What a surprise. As she then puts me down and ties me to a chair. As she says, "I'm going to be piloting the ship to the rendezvous point. You may not like where we're going." I had an idea of where we were going. As she takes off, we then land once again. As she drags me off the ship of my own godforsaken ship, I see what I feared the most. More assassin troopers. As they grab me and say, "We'll take it from here." As she asks for her payment, as the troopers say, "What payment?" As she just says, "The payment you guys promised me." As they just simply laugh, saying, "We were lying about that. If you ever wanted a paycheck, you should have paid more attention to the huts. Bounty hunter." The putrid disrespect for bounty hunter work made her blood boil. Even I could tell that. But she couldn't do anything to get me out, not unless she wanted to end up dead. And she would just move with the assassins as they would turn and threaten to kill her if she doesn't leave. As she would just say, "I'm here to talk to your boss for my payment." "Your boss is Emperor Palpatine, right? Well, I'm here to get my payment from him. He's the one who ordered me to find him." But these assassins have to take her word for it, as one of them calls up, as they put her under arrest, as they say, "Chance Emperor Palpatine never ordered a bounty hunter. But we put a bounty out for him. You should have read it. It said you would not get paid, but you would get favors from the Empire." Another lie that I detected from that clone. She then takes it at face value and leaves, as I simply walk back into my little bundled abode, as eventually I get thrown into a jail cell, armor off and blades taken, as a clone walks up to me saying, "Convict 62767, stand forward." That was my registration number, so I got up and walked towards the clone. As he would say, "You have now been charged with treason of the Galactic Empire. You are hereby sentenced to life within jail, within imprisonment. Enjoy your stay, convict." Life in jail. This is how the Empire now treats its people. I wouldn't be surprised if a rebellion soon starts. But looks of it, all the people here are aliens. Twi'leks, Rhodians. Hell, even a Hutt as well. A Hutt who does not seem to be very pleased with its treatment. As this Hutt stares at me, in its own Huttese words, speaks to me. I just blatantly ignore it, because it was all bullshit of what he was saying. Saying that I run a professional business. I am not an enemy of the Empire. I supported it. I just simply scoff at the words and just don't even bother speaking back to it. To that huge chunk of lard. Eventually, after years of imprisonment, not years, after a year of imprisonment, a clone comes back to me saying, "Convict, my usual number." I got so bored of listening to the number, I just simply get up and walk to the door saying, "What do you want?" He says, "Congratulations, you've been freed." The word freedom, or free, echoes through my mind for a few seconds as I respond saying, "How have I been freed?" As the prison guard just says, "How should I know? You've just been freed. Good luck in your next life. Stay out of trouble." As he passes me my wrist blades and my armor again. As I put it all back on and leave, I obviously remove the Imperial markings, seeing that I am no longer an Imperial. I am just a normal civilian. I walk out of my jail cell to find my ship, or the prison to find my ship sitting there waiting. As I enter, I see a most welcome sight. A woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, with brown hair, long brown hair and blue eyes, waiting for me. As she would just smile, saying, "What? You thought I'd leave you in there without getting paid? You know I spent all of my credits just to buy you out of that jail cell. Least you can do now is pay me back by helping me do some bounty jobs. Deal?" She raises her hand in a handshaking motion. I gladly take it, saying anywhere's better than this place. With her smiling, saying, "Good. You're gonna love it with me. We got a good bounty hunter job to do. Hope you're ready. We're taking down a group of people. Our client wants all of them dead apart from one. Ando Brask. He's a Togruta. The same Togruta that I took to jail some time ago. He managed to escape, thanks to his boys, so our client wants him dead, wants all of his Goonies dead and him alive. I hope you're ready for a fight, because they are brutal in their ways." I smile at her, saying, "Good. Let's see if this old assassin can get a target that needs to stay alive." With her smiling, saying, "I love you already." We both leave. As we both begin to talk to each other, we began to know each other as we hunted our targets. I would not admit it, but I think she started to like me in more than just a partner way of a bounty hunter. But anyway, guys, that's where I'm leaving it. Hope you like,
comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Peace.